The opinions expressed on this program are those of the program host and guest and are not necessarily those of this station, management, staff, and sponsors. WSTU does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU. It's time now for the Crown Car Care Show. Call in with questions and comments, 220-9788, 220-WSTU. Now, here's your host.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's May 20th, 2019, a week before the big holiday of
That's true.
Memorial Day.
Memorial Day. And today is also sales tax report day.
I was just going to say, today is a day that all the business owners out there that are listening to me
Yes.
know that you have reported your taxes last Friday because
Yes.
the weekend doesn't count.
Yes.
So you have to do it by 5 o'clock on Friday.
Yes, exactly right.
And if the 20th happens to fall on a weekend, you get a day of reprieve.
You get a day of grace. Yes,
you get a
do.
day of grace. And if your sales tax receipts exceed $1,200, you get a $30 fee reimbursement or a credit on your filling of the sales tax.
1.25.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
And here in Martin County, we have 6.5%. Isn't that right?
Yes.
So you have to report
Exactly
that.
right.
Half of the percent, I believe, goes to Martin County for their, I believe, for schools and some other things that were unreimbursed. Some of that conundrum with the police and the sheriffs at the schools, the unreimbursed
Expenses, yes.
expenses that were associated with the protection of our school systems,
Right.
as well as other things
Yeah.
keep our kids safe,
Right.
which I completely 100% agree with.
And everybody did. That's why they voted that.
And I'm actually in favor of it
Mhm.
because I know that through the sales tax disbursements in the state, they're not going to allow, I know it has to be put forth to the descriptions of what was supposed to be and voted on. I mean,
Right.
there's oversight,
Right.
right? It's just not,
It's
just not,
It's supposed to
it's
be.
not like the tobacco money settlement,
Yeah, okay.
right? Didn't that go here, there, and everywhere, if I'm not mistaken?
Well, yeah, a lot of fingers got into that.
Yes,
pie.
they did.
Yes.
And I believe it's actually coming to a close, isn't it? Or has it come to a close? The big settlement that happened, and I know Florida is or was involved in it.
That's true. I think a lot of those were one-time big payouts that.
But then we're still seeing the ads, though. The ads are still part of the settlement, which again I'm in favor of.
Yes.
So
Yes.
So the show for today, we have a big show in store.
We
for
do.
us.
Yeah.
We do. We have
Lots of information. A bumper crop of information.
a bumper crop of information, and I'm going to tell you, we always start with the news, but the headliner
Yes.
for today's show is going to be a day in the life of Crown.
Okay.
I have
yes.
I have a list here of 4 vehicles that were brought to us this morning
Mhm.
over at our Palm City location.
That's at 781-8000.
781-8000 is the
Right.
phone number
Yep.
over there, and we're always looking for a 5th story to tell, whether it be an oil change or something broken or something that needs some correcting. These happen to be 4 corrections. I did
Nice.
not include anything with maintenance or any of the work that we do on a quick basis. I just wanted, these are some
Routine things. yeah.
interesting stories that
That
are
are not
above the ordinary
routine,
that
yeah.
we see on
Yeah.
a daily. Yeah, we do see these things on a daily basis, but they make for good, frank, good conversation.
Yes.
And let's start with the news. How about it?
Okay. So sales staffers are suing Hendrick, and they're awaiting a class action ruling. And this is the Florida lawsuit against Hendrick Automotive Group and 33 former Rick Hendrick Chevrolet of Naples.
That's on the West
employees.
Coast over there.
That's correct. And they allege that the company and the dealership fraudulently underpaid sales commissions. So that was
It's
interesting.
to be interesting how that shakes out.
And Nissan, once again, is back in the news, and they are pledging a hands-free option in their Japanese cars.
I thought they were going to pledge to
Sold
throw
in-
the key away
in their cars
on
yeah.
Goshen.
Their cars sold and used in Japan as early as this fall.
So interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're having difficulty keeping planes on autopilot.
Yeah.
And we're worrying
Yikes.
about cars. And
Yikes.
a billion. Well, interesting number. I don't know the number. How many cars are there worldwide at any given moment in operation? Wouldn't that'd be a good number to know. Not how many are made,
Right.
how many are registered. Okay, let's just say that. How many are registered in the world, whether it be whatever the country is, third world country or not? How many cars are on the road daily?
Yeah.
Or basically on a yearly basis, on average, how many cars are scurrying around our planet on a daily basis?
Yeah.
I think the number is spellbounding.
It should be staggering.
Right.
Yes,
and we're going to
indeed.
put half of those on autopilot by 2040.
Yikes.
Yikes, run. I want to move to Mars.
So a vintage Chevy was lost to fire at an HBO dealership.
Oh, boy.
A fire destroyed dozens of old Chevrolets in an upstate New York used car store. HBO was using it in the filming of an upcoming miniseries.
So HBO is on the hook for this one.
Yeah,
So they were probably borrowing or paying some, a lot of these TVs.
And vintage cars are not
it's
cheap.
A big business in Hollywood
to make the vintage cars available. Yes.
Oh, there's companies, that's all they do.
Yeah.
In fact, you'd be surprised what companies are out there that provide things. Like, say, for example, these John Wick movies or these Matrix movies where there's an arsenal of weaponry, whether it be new, classic, or modern.
Mm-hmm.
There's companies that provide that. These movie studios aren't. In the old days, they used to warehouse everything.
Yeah.
Now it's outsourced to specialty companies.
They just rent it. Yes.
They rent it on it because, but the old days, they used to have a warehouse full of warehouse full of warehouse full of things.
Right.
They stored it.
Yeah.
But
But
now,
warehouse space was cheap back then, too.
of course it was.
Yes.
And that's how you'd find a John Wayne holster that would somehow mysteriously would show up at someone's house for sale.
Yeah.
And those people happen to be employees of Universal Studios or something. Well, yeah.
How did that happen?
I don't know. But in any case, there are companies out there that specialize in vintage cars.
Yes.
And it's a fascinating business. I've read articles and seen pictures, and you'd be surprised and shocked. And there's companies that build.
Yeah.
In fact, I just bought a new book by Adam Savage. He is the man from Mythbusters.
Yes.
His background is
blowing things up.
Blowing things up, as well as providing set design and gadgets and gadgets for many movies.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, this book is fascinating.
Yeah.
I recommend it to anybody. Adam Savage it's pretty much an autobiography on his life, but there's a takeaway on which can be your life in terms of how he thinks and how he does. Very good book. It's thick, full of pictures and things he's made. I recommend it.
Cool.
Adam Savage.
All right. GM is in the news. Most vehicles are to get over-the-air updates in their tech by 2023. So they're picking up on what Tesla's doing.
Yes. I don't have a problem with that. Now, I have a problem if that's the way we're going to drive the car.
Yeah.
I worry about, like we say, the Canner Highway.
Yeah.
I don't think we can navigate Canner Highway without a driver. No. At least I haven't been able. In fact, the one day, that's how my hybrid Prius got totaled, was on Canner Highway.
Yeah.
Because of unsettled changes in direction and flow and barricades that happen to change on a daily basis. And there's no update on a database for anybody to know except for the driver that happens to see the change and hopefully can react in a proper way.
Right.
I don't know if we can rely on, the best sensors and the best AI in the world to come up with these kind of decisions that is needed second by second on these roads that can change second by second.
That's right.
You follow it?
Absolutely.
Just think of the toll plazas.
Yes.
That some are open, some are closed. Can you imagine these cars barreling through? Guy's asleep and it's barreling through and he thinks it's on auto pay.
Yikes.
You know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you'll see cones in front of stuff.
Well, where are those cones flying for? What's going on?
That's just another Tesla zipping through. Don't worry. Nothing to see here.
Speaking of Teslas, their shares and bonds take a hit as investors fear a code red. Do you know what a code red is?
No.
You can't handle the truth.
That was with the Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise movie.
About Cuba.
Yeah, exactly. Investors worry about the automaker's crash burn sales outlook and problems with an autopilot system that CEO Elon Musk has held out as key to the electronic car maker's future. One analyst called the company's predicament a code red situation.
I think the fix is what I've been saying for
right
franchise dealers.
Right. That'll solve
It
everything.
really will. I mean, it'll open up problems.
A can of worms, but
it'll solve their service industry,
Right.
service problems, delay problems, and it'll give the local markets teeth or skin in the game,
Right.
which is what that company needs. It's an outsider wherever it goes,
Right.
right? You're going to employ a couple $15 an hour welcome people to greet you as you test drive the car, and then all the money leaves town. Right? There's no money staying in the town.
No,
None.
not
You
good.
just think about what dealers do at a local level, how much they can provide for baseball teams, high schools.
Right.
But you just see here locally.
Right.
Dealerships are a big boon, not only to employment, but to the benefit and outlook of towns and communities all over the country. And Tesla does not provide that in that business model of his. It is not provided.
Yeah.
It's not part of it. There's a big sucking town. All the money's going back to, I guess, San Leandro and Fremont. Fremont's where his main practices, which was the joint effort between Toyota and GM. That was how the plant was built back in the late 70s.
Do you know, speaking of Toyota, Toyota owns 37% of Tesla?
Ooh. That is the nugget for today. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Really? Frank,
I ran across that nugget over the weekend.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
Good stuff.
Ford plans 7,000 salary job cuts by September, saving them a reported $600 million a year.
Yeah, you know what? I had that too. I've got Joan. I have a research team that's headed by Joan at my office in Palm City, and she's got a staff of people that are just every day they're piling through the mounds and mounds and miles of information that the internet provides, and she's going through the ticker tapes and picking out. Joan is picking out the good stories, and then what she does is she compiles it into a summary and then gives it to me so I can distribute it to all of our listeners here on the air. Yeah. So it's a great source of information. Joan has really got her staff of people really hard at it.
Yes.
And that I had that also, that layoff of 7,000 people.
There it is.
See, I had that. Like I said, we're all on the same page here.
Yeah.
I got some other good stuff too here. Let me give you one of mine.
Okay.
By 2040, more than half of the new cars will be electric. That's what BNEF predicts, which is a think tank of some sort there in China that says that half of the cars, more than half by 2040, will be electric. I think that's reasonable.
20 years from now, yeah.
That's reasonable.
Yeah.
It's reasonable.
Yeah.
We have to find the density of the energy in the battery is not quite there yet. You know what I mean by that? It's not giving you the range.
Right.
Even though, well, I guess the recharge time.
Yeah.
And we've seen some technologies over the course of the year here that are changing that. There's a liquid. Remember we read the story on the liquid battery that you can change the fluid out
as an isotope, right?
As an isotope. Yeah. But that, again, though, that sounds awfully complicated. Yeah. I don't see that.
Electrolyte. Now was an isotope.
Electrolyte. Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
So China will continue to lead the sales in electric cars, but China's share of the market will fall as more are sold in other countries. China is expected to account for 48% of all electric cars sold in 2025, but only 26% in 2040. So there's some interesting stuff going on. China's on the hurt right now, as we know. We've got some people putting the squeeze play on them.
I think so.
It has to do up there north of us over there in the Capitol, I believe.
Yes.
By the Washington Monument.
Yes.
I believe it's the White House.
I think so.
I think there's problems going on.
There's some feet being held to the fire.
Yes, there are. All right. Give me some more news there, Frankie.
I think that's what else we got here. We've got Daimler to cut administration costs by 20%, report says. Incoming boss is working on a cost-cutting program dubbed MOVE to reach profit margins targeted threatens by trade talks and product launch issues, a German newspaper has reported.
I've got two bits and more news here. Here's a recall that Ford has. 270,000 cars are being recalled. They are the 2013 to 2016 Ford Fusion. I know there's a lot out there. I see a lot in Martin County, and there's a lot of our customers that have them. So all you listeners out there, if you have a Fusion 13 to 16, be aware of unintended rollaways. It has to do with the parking brake. Ford says a bushing that attaches the shifter cable to the transmission can degrade. And I can tell you, we have done these repairs at Crown Car Care. I know the issue.
Yeah.
Causing the cable to detach. If that happens, the driver could shift into park, but the car could be in another gear. So you take your foot off the brake and it rolls. Maybe that's where all these people are rolling into these buildings. So seriously, it could.
Sure.
You never know. So Ford says the owners will be notified and repairs and parts will be ready. And 2018 covered cars with the number. Some of the or 2018. Wow. Oh, this 2018 recall covers cars with several different motors, but it's always the Ford Fusion. So interesting stuff. It's always the Ford Fusion.
Wow.
So.
All
And
right.
one more bit of news.
Okay.
I'm going to just give you a fast list. 10 things that will soon disappear forever.
Oh my goodness.
Keys.
All right.
Keys. The
All
clutch pedal.
Yeah.
No one makes. Well, now aren't they making an automatic that's a manual? I heard that Ford's got those things, and which is part of our show today.
Yes.
We're going to talk about.
We're going to touch on that. So stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned. This is we need everybody's help out there.
Yes.
We need all of our listeners' help. This is the one time that we're going to ask for help.
Yes.
We will.
We're going to reach out and try to touch someone.
Okay.
Yes.
The plow. Apparently, farmers are not using deep plowing like they used to.
Okay.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
It releases more carbon dioxide into the air than other tillage methods.
Huh.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The CB radio.
Oh, 10-4, good buddy.
That's right. I
Yep.
can remember having those.
Yep.
Now you can pick up CB radio online. Interesting. I didn't know that. The paper check soon to disappear.
Yeah.
The float's going away.
In the toilet tank?
Yeah, no, the float in the paper check. The float
Oh.
you get on the check.
Oh, the float.
The float. They're debitizing
Oh.
these checks immediately. They're taking the money out right when it hits.
Yeah.
So there's no float.
Zip.
Zip going. And
You can-
the pennies just
You can hear that giant sucking sound of the money leaving your account.
the
Yes.
penny. Canada, Australia, New Zealand,
Yes.
and other countries have deep sixed their smallest coin. But the U.S. penny endures as the U.S. Mint continues to churn out millions per year.
Yeah.
To replace the coins vanishing in change jars, vacuum cleaner bags, and your car floorboards.
Yeah.
The penny.
Yes.
Very interesting.
People will drop pennies and not pick them up. Yeah,
I do.
Well, I know, but I do too, because you and I are reasonable people.
Right.
It's money. We pick it up.
I'm going to
Yeah.
take it.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, it's oftentimes it's amazing to me.
And this great story was provided by my research team,
Yes, of course.
Joan and Company.
Yes. Thank you, Joni.
and Company. So that is the news for today.
Okay.
And I have one more thing I wanted to tell you about. I have a book here.
You do. You have
I
a
brought
beautiful
book. I have a
hardcover
beautiful
book.
hardcover book called Our Planet,
Okay.
and it is based off a Netflix
Mhm.
documentary series about our planet.
Okay.
And I wanted to read something.
All right.
And this might be something a lot of people don't know about Antarctica and the Arctic. The difference between the Arctic and Antarctica is not immediately obvious. On the surface,
They're both cold places.
they're
Yeah.
both cold places,
Yeah.
warming up. They appear the same, just endless white ice. But in every other respect, they are polar opposites.
Wow.
No pun intended.
I think there was a pun intended there. Yes. Okay.
While the Antarctic,
Yes.
and here's what
Here's the rub.
here's the rub.
Yeah.
The Antarctic, which is the South,
South Pole.
is a continent surrounded by an ocean.
That is correct.
The Arctic is an ocean surrounded by land.
Yes.
So, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
The Arctic if the Arctic melted, it'd be a big hole,
Yeah.
right?
Ruh,
If
ruh.
Antarctica melted, it'd be a new landmass, right?
Yeah.
We could move there,
Yeah.
I guess. I
We
don't know.
could. Well,
What is north and south in space? I've always wondered how we delineate north and south.
Yeah, I think it's
I've
arbitrary.
I've yet to figure that one out. Have you?
Well, and the poles flip, and over our planet.
I've heard that we're closing in on a flip.
on
so
another. Well, they say
I
that.
don't know. I don't know. If I
But
believe that.
but it has happened in the past, and planets will do that.
Yes, I don't. Even if it did flip, I don't think it'd make much of a difference anyway. Is it? Magnetism is the
Yeah, it's just magnetism.
and
So
gravity. So
yeah. But
Okay.
it's interesting thing. So one other item before we go to break.
Oh yes.
There is back in 1992, I did a shop labor charge for my store, and how that came about was
And that was Vandy, right?
Vandy paint wallpaper,
Yep.
and I used to sell and service spray equipment.
Okay.
Airless sprayers and things of that sort.
Wagner, those
Yeah.
vibrating.
No,
things.
this is before Wagner. Airless things that it was actually on a wheeled cart.
Oh, okay.
and
Industrial. I mean, at a more commercial level.
commercial level,
Okay.
yeah, for painters and pressure washers and things of that sort. Right?
Yes.
And so the deal was, of course, you had to take care of them and bring it back in working order. And of course, that never really happened.
Oh, so you rented them?
I rented them.
Good,
Yes.
okay.
And I sold them,
Okay, gotcha.
but occasionally
You had to fix them or deal with them.
I had to.
And you were the go-to guy.
I was.
The go-to guy.
So I developed these shop labor charges. And in 1993, I came up with a pricing feature on how to delineate how you're going to get billed for the shop labor charges.
It's quite comprehensive.
So go through it if you'd like.
I will.
All righty.
So here, new in 1993, shop
Yes.
labor charges. And this is vintage here. This isn't a reprint. This is truly from 93.
It is.
$12.50 per hour is the starting rate.
Yes.
And it goes up from there.
Yes, it does.
It goes to 18 if you watch.
Yeah.
24 per hour if you help.
Right.
36 per hour if you bring a friend.
Yeah.
It goes up to 48 if you offer suggestions. And it caps out, Frank, if I get this right, is at $56 an hour.
Well, there's actually one more.
Oh,
level.
there is. I see. Okay, so we're almost at 56 an hour if workmanship in another state is mentioned. So if your friend
You
in
can relate to
Texas
this, right?
Bubba. Bubba knows how to fix it better.
Yeah.
It goes to 56.
Yes.
And remember, listeners, it started at $12.50.
You pay for.
You pay as your
As
your dialogue with the maestro, which happens to be Frank from Vandy, increases. If your dialogue increases with Frank,
yeah.
and you become a pest, for no greater sense of the word.
And then
The
during
rate
the
goes
course of the conversation, it goes up to $64
And if, Frank,
an
if you
hour.
could tell us what the 64 is.
Yeah, if you admit to stopping before entering confusion corner, that tells me
then
I know you're not a local.
you know the rate is up to 64.
Yes.
So it starts at 12.50 and goes up to 64. We will be hanging this up in the Palm City location in over in Palm City. If you'd like to come see and laugh at it or take pictures of it, it is quite funny, quite vintage. The paper is yellow.
It's original.
It's original.
It was printed on an old dot matrix printer.
I can tell you, I was going to ask you dot matrix because the edges still have some of the perforations.
Yeah.
Yep. So if you'd like to see this piece of artwork, this vintage collectible that really should be in the Smithsonian Institute, come to Crown Car Care in Palm City. Over there, 3982 Southwest Bruner Terrace, 772-781-8000. We're going to break. You can see us after the break, and we'll talk more about it.
Yes,
Yes,
indeed.
sir. Yes.
We are back. You're listening
Yes, we
to
are.
the Crown Car Care Show with your host, Todd Harris.
And Frank.
Yes,
And we
indeed.
just talked about the labor charges from Bandy Design.
From 1993.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's get into the show.
All right.
This is a day in the life
Okay.
of Crown Car Care.
Moving
And
up
it's
to-
very interesting. And I'm going to tell you, if anyone out there wants to become one of our family, one of our customers, we would love to have you be part of us.
Sure.
And I'm putting in a warm extension and welcome to our Cove Road location. Mike over there is a fine manager. We've got nice staff over there with people. And our address over at the Cove Road location is 4455 Southeast 55 Southeast Cove Road, which is about a mile and a half in from US 1 east towards the ocean, towards Port Salerno on the left-hand side.
Not too far from A1A.
That's right. Right before A1A, right
Mhm.
before the railroad tracks.
Yep.
Our phone number over there is a little bit different than the one we always tout on the air. It's 772-283-4707. That's 772-283-4707. We urge you to call. Try us out. Try us out for an oil change.
Yeah. Ask for Mike and tell him we sent you.
We sent you, and
Yeah.
you're gonna love what we have. You're gonna
He'll
love
smile. You'll smile.
and we'll love our food.
Yeah.
So let's talk about our first vehicle that was into the Palm City location was a school bus.
Okay.
We service school buses, and it was from the Boys and Girls Club of Martin County. What a fine organization.
Yes.
We are proud at Crown Car Care to be asked to service their vehicles.
Yeah.
They provide what a great organization they are, how they help children and after school program. You know, they're a big after school program
Right.
for kids.
Right.
And they are just a fabulous group of people. And they have a 2013 Bluebird bus that came to us. And it was having a noise under the hood while it was running.
Oh, no.
It was a noise. They didn't know what it was, and they were concerned.
Chipmunks.
Chipmunks, something. It was a
Yeah.
rotating, sounded like a growling noise. So it could have been a snake. We don't know, but we did find out. We drove the vehicle, and we did do some diagnostic tests, and we found that the technician found that the bearings in the alternator, were bad and needed to be replaced.
Okay.
So the bearings were bad. So we are taking that alternator out and replacing it with a rebuilt unit. And I will tell you, school buses have quite a bit of electrical lights on them. There's quite a bit of accessories. There's auxiliary air conditioners. So this is not your typical alternator. The alternator is made by a company called Lease Neville, which is big alternators that you see on ambulances. And remember, there's a lot of electricity going on the school bus that you wouldn't normally have on a vehicle,
Correct.
even with that size motor. It's a big diesel engine. It's an international engine, but this alternator is gigantic, and it provides all kinds of amperage.
Yeah.
12 volts.
Yeah.
But it's a ton of amperage to run all the lights and the air conditioning units and heater units that are for all the kids on this bus.
Right.
And the bearings went bad, which they're a sealed bearing on either end of the alternator. The rotor, which is a shaft that's inside the alternator, the bearings are just like you'd see on a skateboard.
Right.
They started to make noise. And when they make noise, that can fail. And now remember, when the bearings go bad, Frank, on an alternator, that would change the clearance or the air gap between the rotor as well as the stator that's inside the alternator.
Okay.
So it could actually create a fire. I mean, there could be a huge, you'd have this thing rotate. And remember, it's belt driven.
Yeah.
So it's not going to stop.
Through. Yeah.
It's going to be rubbed through, and you could have a very catastrophic situation happen. So it was a good thing we caught it.
Friction.
It's a good thing that the Boys and Girls Club noticed that there was something wrong, and they know that we're the go-to people, and we can be right on it because they needed that bus back right away.
Yeah.
So we got it, the piece ordered. We'll be fixing it tomorrow, and they'll be back on the road tomorrow, probably mid-morning.
Nice.
Boys and Girls Club of Martin County, thank you so much for your business. We love
Back
you.
on the road again.
Back on the road again. And that was our first example
Mm-hmm.
of what comes in Crown Car Care. Here's another case study. We have a 2011 Kia Optima,
All right.
and it was a hybrid. Okay.
A hybrid.
Hybrid.
I didn't know they did that.
Yes. New customer. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They'd been to the dealership, and I don't know what dealership, but a dealership. And they had gone into the dealership and just gone in for a routine oil change. Nothing wrong with their air conditioner. And they were told by the dealership that they needed an AC compressor. They were quoted a price of $3,000.
Whoa.
That's, hybrids have a special type of AC
I
compressor.
guess so.
$3,000 for the AC compressor. And again, they didn't go in for that problem. They went in for an oil change. They were told that they had the
Yikes.
problem. And it worked fine. They took the vehicle. Don't know what. I don't know any details other than the story.
Mhm.
So there's no names involved. But I can tell you it was a dealership. Our technician found that the Freon level for this system was overcharged and that the service fittings were leaking. It was overcharged.
Okay.
Again, though, the customer never had a complaint until they went in for an oil change.
Right.
So we fixed them up for a couple $100, fixed their leak, the service leak that was, don't know the details on that one, but I can tell you it was way overcharged. And when the system is way overcharged, it won't work.
Right.
But it was working before they went in.
So the
Mysteriously, there's too much gas got in the system. I don't know how, don't know the details. I really don't. But I can tell you that what I'm telling you is fact.
Yeah.
So, and that's all we want to know. That's the type,
Right.
We'll fix you up.
when it leaves the shop, it's
fixed right, done right. And that's how Crown Car Care runs.
Yeah.
I don't get in the he said, she said. We fix you up. And that's what we did for a couple $100.
Nice.
And they're on their way, very happy, as you can imagine.
And they'll be on the road again.
And you can imagine,
Yeah.
a couple hundred as opposed to 3,000. So that was one of the vehicles that we had in today.
Very cool.
So that's a good story.
Yeah.
Let's take a little sidebar here.
All right.
And let's talk about, we had talked about
A 2015 Ford Focus.
that is you owned.
Yes.
And boy, you've had some problems with that
It's
thing.
been in and out of the shop since we bought it.
Dealership.
Mm-hmm.
No names.
Yeah.
We're just going to say the dealership. And again, it's the
Right.
dealership. And that is who represents, at the local level.
Right.
And we're going to say local. It's not necessarily Martin County. It could be anywhere in
It could be
the
anywhere.
100-mile radius.
Right.
Where no names mentioned.
Right.
All we can say is that this transmission problem that you've been having on this Ford Focus is a known trouble spot with
Yeah.
other people, but you've been having the problem yourself.
Yeah.
And what'd they tell you, Frank?
So the dealerships poo-pooed me mostly and said, well, it's operating within our specifications, so there's not much we can do. They did take the car in. They spent a couple days with it and fussed over it and ordered some replacement parts and
It's still the same.
modules and things
Nothing's
of that sort.
changed.
No.
It's still the same.
It's just still the
Now,
same.
remember
performance, yeah.
last week we had some news.
We did have some
There
news.
was a
breaking news.
about a class action lawsuit. And what we didn't know was the time frame. Apparently, from what you've been doing some research on and contacting this law firm out in California,
Right.
this lawsuit may have been settled recently, but it was involving what calendar year was the sign up for this class?
So according to the way the settlement was drawn up, they through the Capstone Law Firm, I've got it here
Yeah,
too.
okay.
Yeah. The situation is that they want you to
And there was a
file.
deadline, right? There was a deadline to
Yeah.
sign because, class action lawsuits, you have to sign up for the class action.
right.
They call it a class.
Yep. So 2017 was the
Sign up deadline.
yeah.
So
December.
we're well past that. So what we reported on, and it is a bit of a correction, we were reporting on probably the settlement, not necessarily
right.
as this ongoing. This was a closure. We were reporting on closure on it, not necessarily ongoing.
Well, it's a settlement agreement.
Right.
But,
But this
the
was,
judge has not accepted, has not penned his name to this agreement.
so it's still slightly open, but
It's not closed yet.
yet. But for you to join,
Right.
you can't join the party yet.
Looks like I've been locked out.
You've been locked out of the party, but
Right.
the settlement hasn't happened yet.
Right.
So this is very interesting stuff. And what is Ford? From our research, we have found also that Ford has been very, very mum on this.
Yeah, they haven't, been very anxious to reach out to me and say, "Look, this is the issue."
And you've contacted them
Right.
several times. But I mean, even with the class action, there has been
no,
the meat and potatoes of this class action is not even so much the problem with the car. Isn't it about their lack of providing clear, concise disclosure and part of the discovery process in
Right.
the class action lawsuit? I believe
yeah,
it.
yeah. I
It's
mean,
procedurally, they've been
right,
slam dunked on this thing, not necessarily the engineering side of the problem.
correct. The $4 billion law agreement in this lawsuit really stipulates the fact, even though Ford does not admit to lying,
Right.
the lawsuit claims that Ford lied.
Right. And we're just reporters. Here.
Right,
We're
right.
just reporting facts. And very interesting that it really is not about the problem. This isn't about the car problem. This is about
How
the problem, how Ford reacted to it.
how they dealt with it.
It sounds to me like
Right.
Fusion Gate. Or no, Fiesta Gate.
Yeah, Fiesta
It's-
and Focus.
Focus Gate. Focus Gate.
Yeah,
Because that was Watergate. It wasn't what they did. It was the cover up.
the cover.
So
up,
now
yeah.
this is Focus Gate.
Yeah, so it's very complicated, and yet it doesn't necessarily have to be. So
It very easily, in fact, what you want is just fair recourse.
right,
And
Yeah.
and that's all anybody can ask for.
Right.
Fair recourse.
yeah,
Obviously, you've used the
I'm
vehicle not with pleasure, but you have get to use it. So there's
Right.
but you just want
right,
equity,
right.
right? Equity, an equitable response from Ford
Yeah,
Motor
maybe
Company.
a little bit for my trouble, but
And
otherwise,
Ford Motor
yes,
Company has not
yes,
reached out one bit, and that's what we're asking all of our listeners.
yeah,
Help us out.
yes,
We are looking for anybody that wants to take a stand with us.
Yeah.
Maybe contact Ford on behalf of Frank at WSTU Radio and say you
heard the show,
heard the show and you want to say, do the right thing.
Right.
That's all we ask.
right? Just
We're not asking you to yell, scream or anything. Just
Right.
call up Ford and tell them to do the right thing, whether it be through email, phone call, letter. Do
Yeah.
the right thing.
Right.
That's all we ask. That's all we do at Crown Car Care is always do the right thing, even if we make mistakes, and we all do. Crown
Right.
Car Care makes mistakes, and we always rectify the situation so it's done right.
right, yeah,
No
exactly.
matter the consequence. Do it right.
Just do the right thing. And so, if you can contact your local,
Ford representative. There's
Right.
usually you can go on the computer, look in your phone book. There's ways to contact Ford. There's 800 numbers. There's emails.
yes,
We're not going to provide that wallpaper and conduit. We're just asking every one of you if you could take the time,
yes,
help us out.
yes,
That's all we're asking.
yes,
We're not going to pave the way. We're going to ask you for your help.
yes.
Right.
It's right because it
I don't want to we're not going to facilitate anything other than asking.
exactly.
And we beg all of you to help us. Thank you so much. And we'll be right back after this break and we'll continue on with the day at Crown Car Care.
All righty.
On the road again. Just can't wait to get on the road again.
All right. So a little getting on the road again, because that's what you'll do if you use Crown Car Care. They'll get you on the road again.
On the road again.
And Todd's busy talking to one of our listeners right now.
Seeing things that I
So that's pretty
may
cool.
never see again. I can't wait to get on the road again.
Yeah.
On the road again. Like a band of gypsies, we go down the highway.
There you go. So a little on the road again music for you, Todd. I
Yes,
think-
we had a fantastic call from a listener that was asking about his Kia. He had a starter that he had to have replaced. I'll say not at Crown Car Care, but he had to have it replaced on the weekend. He went to, didn't give the details, and I don't think it's even proper to talk about where and
Right.
how he went. Cost him $480 to
Well-
have the starter replaced. It does seem high, and I'm going to give a defense on it, and I'm also going to talk about why I think it is high.
Okay.
Okay. On average, a starter generally takes maybe an hour to an hour and a half to put in.
Depending upon what your rate chart you use.
Yes. But there are instances where I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Take, for example, a Lexus.
Okay.
Some Lexuses have the starter underneath the intake manifold.
Okay.
And if that's the case, your starter replacement could cost over $1,000
Oof.
because the whole front top of the motor has to come apart. Wow. Okay. On Kias, though, I don't believe that's the issue.
All right.
So you got one of two issues. If you used a genuine Kia
Mhm.
starter, you could be up in the couple $100 range for a starter.
Well, this is
And this is where I'm. Go ahead.
And to back up a little bit, this is what happens with the foreign car manufacturers. Their entry level price, they deliberately do an entry level price a little bit less than what they would normally charge,
Yes.
and they collect it later on the parts.
Yes, and this very well could be. Frank, you've hit on something that
Yeah.
is absolutely spot on, and I believe if I had to give an answer to this gentleman that called us, I would say that would be it.
Yeah.
Right? He's gotten nailed on the part price.
Right.
I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt on the efficacy of the shop or the facility that did it.
Mhm.
I'm going to give that as a given because I don't know any information on it. But we do know a lot about foreign cars, you and I, Frank, and we
Yeah.
know the practices that take place. And one of those practices is to come on until you need something and then they get you. Right. And that happens.
Yes,
And it very well could be the answer to where this dilemma is.
I think so.
In fact, if next week, if the listener wants to call us again and give us a breakdown of the parts and labor, we'll discuss it even more. But there is one thing we will only do on this show is fair and equitable.
Yes.
We're not going to say anything that isn't true, and we're only going to analyze things with proper data, just like we do at our two repair shops.
Correct.
Data only,
Yes.
facts only. I
So-
don't want hearsay, and I don't want anything from Bubba from the next state over, because you know what happens.
Right.
If
Yeah.
Bubba tells me about it from say Michigan, we're looking at
Yeah.
from another. We're looking at an additional $56 an hour instead of $12.50, right?
Yes.
That was back in 1993 dollars.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I'm going to talk now about another vehicle that was at our shop.
All right.
It is a 2000 GMC 3500 commercial van. So
Okay.
it would be like a U-Haul type cube box van, Frank, box van.
Yeah.
It complained of the engine stopping abruptly.
Well,
Any ideas of what that could be? It stopped abruptly, the engine.
stopped. I would say it's a fuel issue.
Well, possible.
I mean, I would look at that.
Okay, so here's what happened. The
All right.
technician, first thing he did is pop the hood and check the oil. And there was nothing on the dipstick.
Whoa, that'll stop it too. Well, oil, that's another liquid.
There was no oil in it.
Yikes.
You got to have oil.
Yeah, that would make the engine stop, abrupt
It
stop.
stopped abruptly. I
Yes.
like the word.
Yes.
My service manager, Chris, who's
Bless his heart. Yeah.
Chris and Mike at our two shops are the best.
Right.
They're very good.
Yeah, it's
And they're
just-
funny too. So he wrote, I'm sure he chose this word abruptly, so I'd say it on the air.
Right.
Abruptly.
Yes.
Complained of the engine stopping abruptly.
And apparently it
It
did.
did. No oil.
No oil.
So
I'll stop you on a dime.
that's right. So we're looking at a repower. And at Crown Car Care, we always give options. We can put a used motor in.
Yeah.
Remember,
So the motor is officially dead.
it's dead on arrival.
It's dead, Jim.
It's dead. It's dead. So definitely put you got to have oil.
Yikes.
No oil. Okay. Now, all kinds of options, and I'd like to talk about that one of our shows. Let's talk about the used part market.
Yeah.
It's quite good.
Yes.
It's quite online, quite accessible, quite reasonable, and you can get quite good parts.
Good.
So, always an option,
Yes.
even for things like starters, like that caller that just called us.
Yeah.
So,
Whoa.
used.
Yes.
I'm not an advocate of it. in all cases. Sometimes
Well,
it's not a bad move. Sometimes.
What was the year that
This was a 2000 van, so it's a little bit older.
right?
So a nice that's a Vortec V8 350, a Spider type fuel injection system on it.
Wow.
So common, but you got to keep oil in it.
Yeah.
It didn't look like it leaked out.
Whoa.
So,
Whoa. Not good.
next car.
Next car. Okay.
Okay. And our final car.
Yes.
I believe we've had 3 of them so far, and I promised you 4.
That's correct.
2013 F-250 Ford Super Duty came in, the diesel.
Diesel.
With the 6.7 Scorpion motor. It's the Scorpion. It stings. It's got power. It's got everything.
It'll sting you, all right.
It's got a lot of power
Okay.
to the tune of like 900 foot-pounds of torque. This is the beast.
Wow.
2013 F-250 Super Duty.
So you can definitely pull your boat out of the water.
Yes, you
Yes.
pull a lot of things out. Though I think of that Mel Gibson movie where he pulled that whole house
Yeah.
down the cliff. I believe it was. You remember that? What was it?
It was a
Die
Die
Hard.
Hard,
It was a
yeah.
Die Hard movie, wasn't
Yeah,
it? Didn't he? That was a Chevy dually, though. If I'm
Yeah.
not. But didn't he pull the whole house
He
down with a
did.
truck?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a great scene.
Oh, I love that. I never get tired of watching that. I've
he
watched
pulled
that
the
movie
whole thing down.
at least 6 times. I've seen that movie.
Yeah, and that's where I think that was before he got in trouble with his mouth.
Yeah. Yes.
Didn't he say a few things that got him in trouble?
Yeah. Inappropriate. Yes.
Yes, Mel
yes,
Gibson from
yes.
Australia, if I'm not
Yes,
mistaken.
yes.
I think he got his start in Mad Max, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right.
Mad Max, yes.
Another
yes. I think he
automotive-
did. Didn't he produce the religious movie about the?
He did.
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
He did a whole thing on the Bible and Christ, and yes,
He did. Yeah,
it was
that
very good.
famous movie. It was actually a good movie, but he did open his mouth and get himself in trouble.
Yeah.
We know that, and that was prior to that when he pulled the house down.
Correct.
Okay, so we have a 2013 F-250. Here's what the complaint was.
Okay.
Remember, it's a diesel. It's turbocharged. See if anyone can help figure this
Okay.
out. See if you can figure it out. The customer complained of hearing a popping noise. Then the vehicle had no power.
Whoa.
And remember, it's turbocharged.
Turbocharged diesel
Anyone got any
popping
idea?
noise.
Popping noise, turbocharged.
Ah, you got me. All right.
Okay. The turbocharger is what provides the extra boost for this diesel.
Right.
Okay. And it's all pressurized tubes.
Okay.
Pressurized tubes.
Ah.
That's the turbocharger's pressure.
So the turbo.
Pressure.
Yeah.
Pressurized tubes.
Yeah.
Hint, hint.
So you blew a hose, right?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Air charge pipe. It's called
Yeah.
the air charge, cold air charge, CAC2 pipe.
Okay.
Okay. So the turbocharger provides boost. That hot compressed air, which is from the intake, the air
Right.
cleaner,
Right.
gets compressed and it goes to an intercooler, which is in front of the radiator.
Right.
It cools it down, makes it denser. And then that air charge, which is compressed still to the about 25 to 30 PSI, quite a bit of boost,
Yeah.
goes then into the engine to be
Aha.
burned. He heard a popping. I'm going to repeat the complaint. He complained of hearing a popping noise, and then the vehicle had no power. And the turbocharger is what provides the power, Frank. Any
Yeah.
ideas? What do you think?
Well, he had to.
He blew a hose.
Yeah, he blew a hose. in
You're
the-
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he blew a hose. Common problem on these.
Yes.
They're made out of plastic. The plastic. What happens when plastic gets hot, cold, brittle?
Yeah.
Brittle.
It's dry
And
rots. Yeah.
It just shattered.
Right.
The hose shattered.
Yeah.
Common problem on these Scorpion motors.
So is there a different replacement part, or do you have to?
It's a little bit upgraded, but I'm going to be honest with you. It's still
same result.
it's still the same. Still the same.
So
Still the same.
so it'll be
It's
a
still the same.
couple
part.
years, and then
Then
it'll be
he'll
back
be-
in the shop.
It's still the same part. Plastic. Wow. Plastic. We've talked about
Too
plastic.
bad you can't use like a metal mesh.
They do have some upgraded
Yes.
pipes, but they're very pricey. The racers use them. People
Yeah.
that race these diesels.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, that event that Jordan and I went to, remember a couple weeks
Yeah.
ago, we went up to Indiana,
right.
saw it. But remember, some of the we're hot in Florida.
Yeah.
These you wouldn't see it. Some of the northern states, you might not see this issue.
Oh,
Remember the
that's
hot,
true.
remember the heat degrades. So
Yeah.
there's circumstances that are beyond blaming Ford.
right.
Could blame Florida.
Yeah.
But if we blame Florida, then why are we all living here?
Right.
We love Florida.
Yeah.
Florida's
Florida is tough on rubber, though.
it is tough on rubber and tough on plastic.
Yes,
And I'd argue that Martin County is the best place to live in the entire state.
I think so.
And you know who's situated right here in Martin County is WSTU, world headquarters for
Yes.
Crown Car Care's Radio Hour.
Yes.
And we have a team of researchers. Joan heads it to get all the latest and breaking news
Right.
worldwide on Goshen and his
Oh, his
scandals and antics with Nissan,
Yes.
right? And
And
Elon Musk and his
Yeah.
his scandals and singing debuts about a gorilla. We
What?
can't wait to remember he sang that rap song, Elon Musk.
Oh,
Remember
God,
we played
yes,
it.
That's right.
I can't. What was the name of that gorilla?
I don't know.
We'll have to take it. We'll play it next week.
It was forgettable. I guess. Oh,
We'll
God.
see everybody on Memorial Day next week, won't we?
Well, I don't know.
I'm going to be here. Are you?
I'll be here if you're here.
Heck yeah.
Okay.
Let's have a Memorial Day special.
Okay.
Really, we'll salute some of our troops and let's do it.
Okay.
You want to?
Sounds
Good.
like
Think of some good stuff for us, Frank.
okay.
Catch everybody next week.
All right.
Thanks for all listening. Bye-bye.
Take care.